The pick is in.
The 65th pick, the New York Giants select Darius Alexander, defensive tackle from Toledo. Let's bring in Locked On Giants host Patty Traina to break down this pick for the Giants. So, Patty, some think Alexander is a better pass rusher than maybe his 9 sacks over 5 college seasons suggest, but what do you say?
I think he's a versatile defensive lineman, which is what they were looking for. Let's start there. I mean, look, every time Dexter Lawrence came off the field, teams ran right at that spot. And there was just no stopping that bleeding. And also, speaking of Dexter Lawrence, he hasn't had a solid running mate since really they traded away Leonard Williams. So I think in Darius Alexander, he's raw, like a lot of rookies that come in. But I do think he's got 3-down capability. The pass rush, he's got a quick first step. He's a big body run stuffer. So I just think with a little bit of refinement, I think ultimately he can round into that running mate that Dexter Lawrence has been missing since Leonard Williams.
Yeah. And some think that Alexander does have the tools to continuously get better. For you, you feel like he has a higher floor or maybe a higher ceiling?
I think he has a higher ceiling. I think, his best is still to come. And he's coming into a really good situation here with the Giants. Andre Patterson, the defensive line coach, Brian Cox, the assistant defensive line coach, they have done wonders. I mean, you look at what they did last year with some of that young talent when Dexter Lawrence went down. You look at what they did with Dexter Lawrence, switching him to a nose tackle position and turning him basically into a Pro Bowler. So there is optimism there that the combination of Patterson and Cox can work with Darius Alexander, as well as these other young defensive linemen that they still have, and the newcomers that they have brought in. So I really like this pick. The Giants, basically, they got bullied in the trenches last year. We all saw what the Eagles did, in the Super Bowl with having that deep rotation up front. The Giants, they say this is a copycat league. The Giants copied the Eagles. I mean, there's no shame in that. They're the defending Super Bowl champions. And, let's hope that the Giants now can beat the Eagles as well as the other teams at their own game.
Indeed. And then when you think about what you need to see, what Shane Bowen needs to see from Alexander for him to contribute day one, what does that look like in training camp, preseason, for him to be able to contribute? And what you just mentioned, to be a very challenging division, if you will, having to go through the Philadelphia Eagles, a Washington Commanders team that continues to improve. And we'll just leave it right there, Patty.
Yeah, I think the problem with a lot of young players when they come in is sometimes they don't play with good control. They're all over the place. They're flaring their arms around and whatnot. So it's all about control. It's all about, pad level. It's about, being able to shed blocks. I mean, I think you could say for every NFL player that comes in, they could probably improve their strength because, they're pretty strong when they come in, but they're not always NFL strong. So I think you work on those basics, maybe clean up some of the fundamentals. And I think in time, Alexander will be an every down player for the Giants.
Appreciate the time and for continuing coverage of the Giants. Subscribe to Locked On Giants wherever you get your podcasts. And for more on Darius Alexander, let's hear from Locked On NFL Drafts, Keith Sanchez, who spent a lot of time covering Darius up close.
This is a deep defensive line group, but Darius Alexander could be the steal of them all. This is Keith Sanchez with Locked On NFL Draft, and let's talk about Darius Alexander. Let's talk about the run game first. This guy has strong punches, right? At the snap of the football, you see him joke back offensive linemen. You can see how heavy and impactful his hands are, and then he can use his quickness to get into gaps, make tackles in the backfield on a running back, be disruptive. That's what Darius Alexander is in the run game. Then as a pass rusher, this guy can rush in multiple gaps. You want him head up over the center, he can do that. You want him as a 3-tech, he can do that. You want him as a defensive end, he can do that. So versatility is a big key for Darius Alexander, and I expect him to play all across the defensive line, making plays. For more on the top NFL draft prospects, make sure to subscribe to Locked On NFL Draft wherever you get your podcasts.